You're about to see 5 journaling spots that you wish you would have thought of sooner. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe and share this with someone that loves a little magic in their journaling routine. I'm Ingrid Carlson, and I'm so happy that you're here with me today. This is a very simple project that we're doing first. So I'm going to take a piece of paper and I want it to be about the same width as my page. So I will measure that out and then check to make sure that we are good. And then with this one, I did double side print this. I just had it laying on my desk, so that's why I'm using it. You don't have to have double sided, and you can actually start with a piece of regular paper or cardstock for this one. So I'm going to take that and I think we will do the tan side. And a true belly band is one that is attached on 2 sides, and it can go pretty much any direction that you want. And it's going to get, like I said, glued down on 2 sides. That way you have paper that, or whatever, ephemera, whatever you want, that can get tucked in here. The step that we're doing extra here is we're going to have this foldable so that we can add some journaling inside. Now, you could do this is the easiest way, by just folding a paper over, and then we're going to, like I said, attach it on the sides. You could also, let's say you had a piece of paper like this and you wanted this to be your belly band, you could then take another piece and hinge it on top like this. Either way is totally fine, but the end result is going to be the same. And so I'm just layering a little bit of glue on both sides. And now what you can see is that, especially once the glue has completely dried, we're going to be able to stick something here and it will stay. Now, the more, if you know that you're going to stick, let's say something like this that's a little bit smaller, then you're going to want to put your glue a little closer to it so that it gives it a snug fit. And now we're going to start our little journaling process. I'm going to take a piece of tea-dyed paper and I want to cut it a little bit smaller than my journaling spot, or in my belly band. And I'm going to take a little off of the top as well. And you could do this beforehand so that your fold is in the same place. But I think what I'll do match it up. I love this because I can see the paper underneath, but it still gives me a place that I can journal. And if you want this to be super secret, you could always take a little tiny paper clip like this and clip the bottom like that, and that way it does not open at all. And this should be pretty dry now, so you can see that it will hold something in place, and even something small like that, it'll still hold it in place. And so you can take any of the processes that I'm going to show you here, any of the 5, and you can leave them as they are, or you can embellish them. So if this is your type of journaling, if this is what makes your heart sing, is just something that is simple, elegant, then stop here. But I'm going to show you how I would take it to the next level. And of course, whatever my level is, your level can go even further up. Now, the more that you put on this, the more it's going to weigh it down and make it not flop as much. Also, making sure to have this pushed down really well will help with that as well. I love these girls, so I think they are going to be my focal point. And this is just one of my printables that I have shrunk and put on a 4x6 photo. How sweet those little girls are. They really don't even need that much layering because they are adorable on their own. Actually, I think, you know, it would look really pretty if I grabbed some of my scraps. And these projects are all really great to do using scraps. And so like any pieces like this that you're holding on to, these are really great for layering. I think this might work as well. And see those little edges that had gotten torn off, like this had gotten just ripped off? Leave those. Those are great. Oh, look, I have writing on there. I'm going to leave it, even though I might be covering it. So think I'm going to take a piece of some lace or fabric, and I don't want to add a ton of color, or because I already have this pink sticking out. I thought this might look pretty, and I think it would if I didn't have that pink there. I think that would be really pretty, but instead I'm just going to cut a little sliver off of this. And instead of layering it underneath, which I think that would look really pretty, I'm going to stick it on top. I'll do like this, and I'm going to grab a sentiment. I have so many printables sitting on my desk right now. Let's see. Oh, and I think we can tie in the pink. So we're going to just do this bottom one. And that says, "She bloomed where she was broken." Isn't that so pretty? We're going to alter this just a little by distressing it using our scissors. Just be really careful with your fingers here and your nails. And I think I'm going to add a rip on the edge. And I'm going to staple this down. And I know you're like, well, you already have those staples, but I think that that is really pretty. And I'm going to add just a tad bit of glue here, and then attach this to our belly band. Isn't that pretty? And now we can add our journaling, we can add whatever we want. And let me find a ticket. And now we can add something inside of that as well. So you have a 2-for-1 with this process. This is the simplest one of all 5, but it is so wonderful. I love that to the unknowing eye, you would have no idea that there is something. And look, it's staying down by itself, so you don't even need the paper clip. But then you lift it up, and that is where the magic is hiding. Isn't that so sweet? The soft structure of this turns this little flap into a veil of quiet wonder. I think that's so pretty. Our next hidden spot is really fun. So what I'm going to start off with is I'm going to find my page that I want to work on, and I'm going to take a piece of cardstock. It can be something that it has a printed side. Oh, that looks so pretty together. Or it can be plain white, which is what I'm going to use. And actually, didn't I just... Actually, it's not big enough. I'm going to take this because it was a sample print. So I'm going to cut this down. And it's a little too big, of course. And it wasn't even cut straight. Let's try it again. Take 2. this is a much better size, and then I want to cut it at an angle, and it does not matter at all what type of angle you want. You just need to know what the highest point is and the lowest point, and I think this is a little too angled, so I'm going to come in here and cut some of that angle off. Okay, and no, it's not where you think it's going. This isn't going to be it. Now we are going to create a beautiful collage on top of this. I'm going to take some printables that I had that have some really pretty little birds and butterflies, but what I really want to pull out are the florals. We are going to build this beautiful bouquet that is going to be spilling onto your page, and this is our base for it. So when I'm creating something like this, or if you're creating something like this, you have a couple of different options. You can build the bottom layer and then build it up, or you can just let it fall where it lays. And you know, I always second guess myself with this, but I'd love to know which you prefer when you are working with collage. Do you like it to be very meticulous and thought out, or do you like the pieces to just fall where they want and make a home for themselves? I'm going to cut some of this out. Now this design has a ton of little extra leaves, which is really beautiful, but it also makes it a little hard to fussy cut. So you can be as intricate as you want, or you can be as messy as you want. I give you permission to do both, or either. I'm going to do a little bit of both. And that's going to allow me to make it look more purposeful. As you can see, we have little leaves sticking out. And then here, I left some white space here. So this is a nice method that kind of uses a little of both, where you can skimp in some areas and save some time. And then in others, you could be more calculated and purposeful. Whenever I'm fussy cutting, I like to, when I have leaves or something that is small, I like to go in at 2 angles. So I go in the first time, then I go in on the other side and angle it in. So I'll show you here. I go angled in, and then I come out, around, and angle in. If you'd like a more detailed tutorial on how I fussy cut, then leave me a comment down below and I will make a video. I was planning on making a short, but there might be enough interest to make a full video. So definitely let me know down below so that I know if that's something you'd want to watch. almost done. I really do think that fussy cutting helps us to really enjoy the beautiful printables that we have at hand. And so I suggest you don't skip this part. Look at how beautiful that's going to be. And I think it's going to live right there. I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of these off camera, and then I will be back and we'll build the bouquet together. I've got all of my beautiful florals all fussy cut, and I couldn't be happier with this. I'm going to take my original piece, remember that we cut at an angle, and that's going to be sitting somewhere here on the page. So we're going to keep that in mind, and we're going to start layering. And I'm going to allow some of these pieces to come off the edge. I think that that's beautiful. We're going to allow the flowers to go where they want, and then we can rearrange them. I think that that is very pretty right there, and you can see a little bit of my background paper here. So if that's something that's going to bother you, you can always rearrange them a little. So we're going to push everything over to the side and maybe add an extra flower here. I actually think that I liked it better the other way. So we're going to leave it right here. And that is perfect. Okay, hopefully I can replicate this. So you have a couple of options. I'm filming right now, so I can't stop and take a photo, but if I were doing this on my own time, then I would probably take a photo of this and try to replicate it. Since I can't do that, I'm going to hope for the best and tell myself I'm okay if it goes a little sideways or if it's not exactly how I want it to be. I'm going to take my glue, and just like we did in I think the last video, I'm going to hold this pretty tight with my hand, with my left hand or my non-dominant hand. With my dominant hand, I'm going to kind of just wedge my way inside and add some glue. I'm going to peek over on the side just to make sure that it is getting some glue. And I'm going to go through and get everything semi put down. And it's going to move around until you do this. So don't let this part stress you out. Let this be fun and just creative. Oh, I like that. Once you have all of your layers secured somewhat, just allow this to dry some. I'm going to put this leaf down. Then you can go back in and fill in any of the glue spots that you need. Also, before it's glued down all the way, you do have a little bit of wiggle room. you can see here that my original, this paper is kind of poking out at the bottom. So if I wanted to, I could try to pull this out and cut some of that out, or I can even go in right here and cut it out, but I'm okay with it being like that. Look at how beautiful that is. Okay, now let's stick our butterfly on. I think I had it somewhere over here and it was so pretty. So maybe we're gonna stick her on here. Now, I don't know if her antennas are going to last, but I want her to have a little bit of an interactive feel. So I'm going to put her kind of angled, and I'm gonna pull her little wings out just a little. Now, of course, when we shut this, it is going to smush it down, but because we're not gluing all the way down, she will have a little bit of flutterability. Look at how beautiful this is. So now we're going to do the same as we did before with our belly band. We are going to this time glue down the top and the bottom, or I'm sorry, the side and the bottom. And I ended up not going off of the page, so I must have scrunched it up when I was putting it together, and that's okay. And because we only have this and this part glued, now that gives us the ability to add in our little hidden notes right here. It would be really beautiful is maybe a poem by Robert Frost or by Emerson. And look at this gorgeous piece of art that we just created. So I wanted to show you another way to do this, but maybe you don't want flowers, or maybe your aesthetic is just a little different. So I added some little ephemera pieces. I did put some florals in here because it's me. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to angle it again. And I'm going to start building this up. And as you can see, it's still the same type of formula. We're just using different pieces. Something else that would look really beautiful here is if you took this to the sewing machine and added some sewing around the edge. But to keep it simple, I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to try to move these all over just a smidge. There we go. And now we can do the same thing, except on this one, I'm going to start up at the top and I'm going to add glue at the top layers because not all of the layers are hitting my base. And then we will attach it to the base when we're done. I am using both cardstock as well as copy paper. This is copy paper here. This is cardstock, so you can use whichever you like. And I'm going to show you here. that these are, or this is the way that I like it, but you can see here a piece of this is sticking out and then a piece here. So I'm just going to cut it down. We just need this to be the base. It doesn't need to be exact. That's almost perfect. I'm going to cut just a little bit off of this edge. And so that I don't move it around, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to glue it into place. I'm just going to go through and burnish these pieces. Another thing I could have done is I could have distressed these pieces a little more to give it a little more dimension and also make it look older. I cut out this little picture that I think will be very adorable. I also have these Dollar Tree labels, which I have just stamped some numbers on. And actually, this is kind of speaking to me. Not really, but you know. I think I like that there. On this, I am going to add a little bit of glue because those tend to pop up a little bit. And where I would decide where on my page this was going to be, and then decide if I want this to go upright, if I want it to go sideways. I like it right there. And actually, before we do that, I'm going to bend the corner, and I'm just going to run my scissors by it so that we look like it's an old tattered photo. Look at how much life that gave it. And then I have a sentiment here that says joy in the little things, and I'm going to glue all this down. And we just created two beautiful collage tags, very different in the theme. Can you guys hear that? Hopefully everyone's okay. And where's my other one? Look at how beautiful. This is a really wonderful project, and you would never know if you had this here that there was, because you have so much going on and so many different layers peeking out, you wouldn't know that there was a little note tucked inside. And so I absolutely love that element of surprise and also the interactiveness of the whole thing. Which is your favorite? Do you enjoy the, oh my word, that was really loud. Do you enjoy something like this where it's using more tags and it looks like a little bundle of maybe papers that were on a desk? Or do you like the florals with the beautiful little butterfly in the middle? We are now going to talk about envelopes. So you can use something that is store-bought, which I'm showing you here. I have maybe these are both from Dollar Tree. This one is just like a standard small envelope, and then this is one of their, I think they call them the coin envelopes. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, it's the coin envelope, and it's the 3.2 by 4.5. And we are going to go ahead and decorate this one. So for this project, I'm going to be gluing this down. But before I do, I want to decorate it. And I'm going to start off with some papers. And I want there to be a border around it. So, oops. I'm going to measure somewhere here, somewhere here. And really quickly, I'm just going to scuff up the edges very slightly and then add kind of some little rips. And that's perfect. And then I want this is going to fold down, and so on here, let me see if I have any more ledger paper. I think that would be pretty here. And on this one, I am going to cut it a little so that it doesn't have such a frayed edge. So when I cut, I don't know, this is probably not the right way to cut, but this is the way that I do it. So I want this to be this side or this shape, but I want it to be a little smaller. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to just cut it out. I want to make sure that it looks good, that it fits. And how did I end up with smaller corners? Okay, well, it actually works out in our favor because I want it to be smaller than this. So I'm going to just clip some of the edge off. I went a little too angled. And this one, I'm going to angle that. I think I'm going to redo that because of the angles. So I'm just going to cut that angle off, and instead I'm going to go here and I don't know how I messed that up in the first place. So, okay, now pretend that we're starting from here. So I have this that lines up perfectly, but I want it to have a little bit of a border, just like I'm going to do here. So I'm just going to go in and ever so slightly, I'm going to remove a little bit, and you can always take more off. I would start with less, but I love the way that that looks. And you're going to see that that has that little bend in it. I actually really love that, and I'm going to add another one, maybe somewhere right around here. And I didn't do this on purpose, but it says paid, and I absolutely love that. So I'm going to start off with adding some adhesive to the fold. I'm going to put this down. And fold it down. And I'm actually going to leave that there because it's okay. And I'm going to add this now to the front, or the front side of the envelope. And I'm going to adhere this, or I'm going to make this as if I was adhering this directly onto the page. If you're not going to, and you want this to be a free standing pocket, then by all means you can decorate the front as well. But I am going to glue down up at the top. And I could have done this before I glued it down. I probably should have, but I'm going to try really hard to see if I can cut. You know what we're going to do? Instead of doing that, I'm going to start in about at 1/4 inch, and I'm going to angle it in just slightly, and I'm going to cut to about 1/4 inch on this side. And you can see there, it's the very smallest sliver, but that it allows my envelope to open. And so now, if we have our page here, let's say we want our envelope here. So you can attach your envelope, like I said, if you wanted to go ahead and decorate both sides, and then you can attach your envelope here. Or you could, and this is, I made it like this, you would glue this straight down right here, which, let's go ahead and do that. Let's actually glue this on 3 sides. So I'm gluing both of the sides as well as the bottom. And then we're going to have an extra little tuck spot for hidden journaling. And now it looks like it's just a regular envelope, but you've got I want to make sure that that envelope is really adhered on the bottom, but now you have a spot here to add your hidden journaling, and you have a spot here to add journaling. And so you can take this again and go further into the decorative process, or you can take this idea and expand on it. You don't have to use an envelope. You could make your own envelope. You can use something else instead of an envelope. And I'm just going to grab some quick ephemera, and I like this in lieu of the Masters happening this weekend. I'm going to use this pretty magazine cover, and it's got a girl swinging a golf club. Well, what is that thing called? Okay, I am going to add just a tiny bit of this, and let's grab one of these sentiments as well. And I like this one. She kept showing up, especially since she's playing in golf. And maybe we're telling her story that she used to be really bad and she kept showing up and now she's a champion. I do know I want this down here. And then I want that at the top, but I'm gonna look. I have, you know, all these little pieces that I think that blends in a little too much. Could do this possibly. Actually like that. So we're gonna staple this into place. And now we're going to glue the whole thing down. And let's kind of dog ear that a little bit. Push it down. And there you go. Now you have your little envelope, and we can stick a note here and we can stick a note here. Something else that would be really pretty here as well to emphasize that the top is closed would be a beautiful wax seal. I think that would be pretty. And you could even leave it more plain than this and just add a wax seal, maybe some ribbon at the bottom like this. You know, have you seen that with like the Regency letters? You put a little ribbon like this and then add the wax seal on top. I think that that would be just precious. Our fourth hidden pocket is going to be a frame, but before we get onto it, I want to hear which one you think is the most secretive of all of the 5 ideas. And I have my favorite, but I'm not going to share it until the comments. So make sure, if you want to know which one my favorite is, to look at the comments. I'll probably post it tomorrow. So I'm going to show you an easy way and then a little more elevated way. So I'm going to start off by using a journaling card, or it can be just a tag. It can be anything, any rectangular shape. And actually, it doesn't even need to be a rectangular shape, but that's what I'm using today. And I just cut another piece of paper exactly the same as this one. So this is going to be a pretty easy tutorial to make a tag. Again, maybe it's not the tutorial that you would use or the way that you would do it, and I'd love to know how you would make this project your own. And especially if it's different than what I do, because then, you know, we can learn from each other. So I'm going to take this and I'm actually going to be cutting the center out of this tag. And so you can do this several different ways. You can eyeball and just, you know, carve out or pencil out another rectangle inside of this. You can use something else that you have on your desk. Let's see. You could use something else that you already have, or you could measure it out and make your lines, make your lines, and then cut. So I'm just going to use this because it was here, and I think that it will work out perfectly. Even if I mess it up, which I just did a little bit, since I'm using a pen, which I would not use a pen. I'm only using it so that you can see it on screen. And we have our center. Now, we are actually going to be cutting this out. So if you don't have an image that you care about or you don't want to save the paper, then what I would do is I would take my scissors and stab it through the center and then start cutting around the edge. But because I want to keep that flower, I think that I'll definitely use it for something else. I'm going to line up a metal ruler with my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to cut it out this way. How many of you are anti-X-Acto knives? I used to be for a very long time, and I'm not really anymore. I'm seeing that my line is a little crooked, so instead of, oh, actually I want to go this way. Instead of worrying about it, so I'm like right here, I'm just going to make my own line, and then I'm going to line it up there. Perfect. And the same will go here. And again, mine is probably going to show that pen mark through, but I'm not going to worry about that. That's not going to steal our joy today. I'm going to go a little further. And so because I did that, then I'm just going to make sure that my edges are fully cut. Ta-da! And now we have a beautiful frame. I love that we've got this little PO here and then the date item up here. That's beautiful. Now remember that other piece that we had? That is that's actually going to give us the secret. So now in a regular frame, let's say you wanted to put something inside of here. Well, we could cut this down and put it inside. Maybe we'll take one of these flowers and we'll just put it in the center. I think that'll be very pretty. We'll do that. So I'm going to grab my glue and I'm going to put this on the whole back and glue it on. But just like we did the other one, if you wanted to stick something inside of here, okay, if you wanted to be able to stick something in and out, then don't glue all of the sides. Now you can see here I went over my edge just a little bit, so I will cut that out. That was a misprint when I did the Rolodex, the Christmas Rolodex. Still one of my favorite projects. I've been waiting to do that Rolodex for so long, and it came out so adorable, and that was using Bella and Craft digitals, which were absolutely beautiful. Okay, so we have our frame here, and we're going to, let's distress this a little bit to give it a little dimension. We're going to glue this down, and then I think I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm just going to add a sentiment on the front, and that's it. And actually I think I'm going to add the sentiment down here. So let's, like here, I think I like this font here, so oh, I love this one, Held by Love. And almost done. Look at how precious that is already as a design element. And then we are going to stick it in our journal. And in this case, we're going to just stick it here, and I'm going to glue down on 3 sides. I'm going to hold it down. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you were looking at this journal, you would never think that there was a hidden journaling spot. Now, if you want to make a reminder to yourself and you want to know that there's a journaling spot, then you could always cut a little notch out. That's usually an indicator for it. But I absolutely love this. I think that it is simple, yet it's a beautiful little hidden love note. That would be so sweet. So now I'm going to show you the elevated version. So for this version, I actually made one of these little frames. If you want a tutorial on how to make this, leave me a comment down below and let me know that that you want it, and we can do that. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to look for a piece of paper that coordinates, and I think that stripes work really well with something like this. So let me see if I can find, oh, I think I do have a stripe paper here. Let's see how this looks. Let's actually do, that one had horizontal stripes, so we will do some vertical stripes. So in this case, I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm going to add my glue, but I want to make sure that all of my tails for my sewing are out of the way when I glue it down. And I'm going to go ahead and add my glue to the bottom. Oops. There we go. And this, both of the sides. And I'm going to try to keep those tails out. And on this one, we're going to make it a double pocket. And if you don't like the tails, cut them off, but I love to see little frayed threads peeking through my projects. I used to use black thread all of the time. I love the contrast with black, with especially like pastel colors, but I haven't done it in a little while. I'm going to let that just a tiny little bit peek through on the outside. This is so adorable. And if you wanted this can be a floating pocket as well. If you wanted it to be, actually, what am I talking about? No, you want to adhere this down to the page so that you can have hidden journaling. I was getting carried away. Well, you know, you could do another one on here, a secret one, and then have it double-sided. But anyways, let's let's not get carried away, and let's go ahead and add some decorations to this one, because I'm going to allow this to be a pocket. So if you wanted to stick something in here, you could. Oh, that looks so pretty. I'm only going to decorate on this corner here, and I have that little tiny ephemera that I had cut out, maybe? Yeah. So I'm just gonna look. I think this one, we're gonna cut it down just a little. I think it's kind of big. Let's go here. And let's add, I know that this paper already has some ledger, but let's add a little bit extra ledger maybe. And where's that little flower that we had? Now I don't have that flower, but I do have this flower cluster. So let's see if this works. And on this one, I'm going to fussy cut, but I'm gonna leave a white border. That's to cut down on time, and also I like that look sometimes. I like to be able to see the white, you know, like if it was a sticker. I don't know if we're gonna keep this flower in. We might cut that one out. We don't have to cut it out, but we can put this together. And then I'm going to staple it. We could add a little bit of, what if we added a little bit of lace to kind of soften up that flower? Just a little piece. Stick that here. It's the tiniest little bit, but it still impacts it. I'm going to move everything over a little so that I can see these numbers. And now I'll do that. And let's add maybe a sentiment to it. Let's see. Worthy of rest. And I'm gonna grab my little blender tool, makeup brush, and whatever's just left on it, I'm gonna run over the paper so that it darkens it just a tad. You know, I normally would put it down here, but it's covering up the nest. So I think I'm going to cover up the staples. It's going to hit right where the staples are. And I'm going to leave the edge so that it is a little interactive. So right here, there's no glue on it. And look at how delightful this little tag is. Okay, you ready for the last one? I think I saved the best for last. This is my favorite one of all. So it's super simple, but it packs a punch. I'm going to take my paper, and I'm just using some avocado dyed copy paper, and I'm going to measure it out to about, let's see, I think I'm gonna have to use this side. There we go. We're gonna measure about 1 1/4 inches, but you can make this as wide as you want, and you can also make it longer if you wanted it to. You're gonna absolutely love this one. Let me grab my little book, and I think we're gonna add it. I think we're gonna add it here because we have all this space here, and I think it would be really sweet here as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take something that's very thin. Let's see if I have anything on my desk already. I find that a paintbrush is really good if you have a thin one. And we're going to take this paintbrush and we're going to wrap the paper. Okay, pause right now and let me know if you think you know what I'm doing. Okay. This does not need to be perfect or perfectly wrapped. I like where it's the edges here, so and I just realized that the end of this paper on this side does not have a lot of the avocado dyed, so we're gonna do it over on the other side. That's already looking a lot better. Okay, and then we want about 1/2 inch to 1 inch to be, actually I would say about 1/2 inch to be completely flat. And I'm going to grab, let's see, actually I'm not going to grab anything. We're going to go ahead and we're going to glue this down right here. And I take that all back. I think that it would work even better if you had less, so maybe about 1/4 inch showing. I'm going to glue that down right here. How adorable is that? And we're going to allow this to dry all the way. And in the meantime, I'm going to go find some twine. I'm also going to grab an awl or a pokey tool. That's semi-dry. I'm going to very carefully not to poke my fingers. Oh, and I'm going to go through that, the frame that we made, and that's okay. Let me go a little higher. Safety first, boys and girls. And I want the hole to be big enough to be able to fit my twine through. Oops, I made it a little too big. Oh, kind of had a little bit of an issue because of the tag, but we're not going to mind that at all. Take this and try to push it through to the other side. Perfect. And then we're just going to cut a little bit off. How sweet is this? Now, if you want to, you can take your brush again. The easiest way that I find is to hold the center, pull it, and then re-roll again. And now we're just going to hold that down. And remember, don't do a full knot here because you want to be able to open it. Unless you don't and you want it to be secret, then just do like you're tying your shoes. Where is that? And how adorable is that? So on this one, because it's really already unique and beautiful, so I'm not going to do anything else to it, but I am going to give you a couple of ideas. I think that you could put in a wax seal here, and I think that would look really pretty. But I think the thing that I would probably be more apt to do is maybe add some gold gilding on the top, and you just are going to take some kind of brush, open it up, make sure you can do both sides if you want, and then you're going to take some metallic paint and just go around the edges. And it's okay if it has like little drips where it's like thicker in some places than others. I think it adds to the character of it. Isn't there something that's just so enchanting about this one? It's this little tiny scroll that's bound by twine and tucked into the pages, and it makes you feel like you're finding a real treasure. I don't know that there's much that's more romantic than this, a scroll tied with a string. It's this little scroll that's resting on the edge of your page. It feels like a note that was rolled into a tide. It was a note that was tucked into an old bottle, and it was meant to be discovered years later. And look at how precious it is. Now, if you want it to come out more, just unroll it a little more, just depending on where you want it to sit on here. Sometimes the most beautiful things are the ones that we almost miss. Hidden spots like these remind me to slow down and take a closer look, not just in my journal, but in my life. If this video has reminded you that even the quiet moments matter, or that your story is worth being told on paper, I hope that you share this with someone that needs that too. Your comments, your presence, it means more than you'll ever know. And of course, if you feel at home here, I'd be honored if you subscribe to my channel. This space was made just for you. I want to remind you that your story, whatever it is worth telling. You are worthy of being seen and heard, and more importantly, you are loved dearly. I thank you so much for being here. Until next time, love you. Bye.